Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Sonny. Guys, today is all about how to get your knives scary sharp, samurai sharp, using a Japanese whetstone. It is definitely my preferred method for sharpening a knife. We're going to talk about how to choose a whetstone, how to maintain your whetstone, how to find an angle on a knife, how to properly use the sharpening stone to sharpen your knife. This episode is just packed with so much value, and there's a lot of humor in the last 3/4 of the episode and some great slow motion shots of me cutting some food. So please don't miss this one, and please stick around to the end. I really hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Sonny Harrell, and I have been working my face off for the last 15 years in more than a dozen professional kitchens all around the world. And here on this channel, I share all the skills, the tips, the tricks, the recipes, the methods, the techniques. So if you haven't already subscribed, consider doing that for future videos just like this one. So today's episode is yet another installation into our Back to Basics series. And in this one, we're covering knife sharpening, but we'll do things like cleaning fish, cleaning meat, basic vegetable prep, and much, much more. So if you are new to the channel and you are new to cooking, Back to Basics would be a place for you to learn. Okay, so first things first, right? Why should we use a sharp knife? First things first, you're not gonna bruise your food. You're not gonna end up with a finished product that does not look professional. Your food's just gonna look cleaner and it's gonna look more beautiful. Number two, and one of the biggest reasons that we sharpen our knives is, for me as a professional chef, is it's easier on your wrists. It's just easier to chop through the food. It really makes cooking more enjoyable, more fun, easier to do. You know, I've worked with a lot of professional chefs who don't sharpen their knives, and they're wondering why their wrists looks like it's filled with golf balls, right? So that, number two, is a big one for me. It's just ease of chopping. Number three, your knife is gonna be much more predictable as you slice through food. If you're using a dull knife, you could just go, it'll go off to the side, you won't make a nice straight cut, and that's when you get cut. Which leads me to number four. If you do cut yourself and you're using a dull knife, that is not gonna be a cut that heals quickly at all. I don't know if you know this, but if you're using a sharp knife, it just means that your cut is gonna heal much, much quicker. Number five has to do with onions. You know, when you cut onions, you start to cry when you cut into the root section. By using a sharp knife, you're not gonna damage the cells as much, so you're not really gonna cry as much when you cut those onions. I'm gonna throw in a number six, guys. It's just badass, and it just feels awesome to use a knife that is just razor sharp. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the water stone itself. Choosing the right water stone, what are you looking for? What are the right accessories you might need to go with it? The cheapest ones you're going to find are going to be made out of silicone carbide, which is the hardest material, which is not actually the best thing. And then moving up, you're going to be getting into the aluminum oxide water stones, and those are a little bit better. They're a little bit softer. So you want a softer stone because that is actually what is going to grind and polish your knife. And if you care about your knives, you should care about your water stone because it is an investment just like a good chef's knife. The highest quality is these Japanese whetstones, right? These come straight from Japan. They're definitely not cheap, but it is something that is going to last for a very long time, and especially if you take good care of it, which we're going to talk about in this video. So the lower the number, the coarser the stone, right? So I have here 1,000 grit and a 4,000 grit, right? So that 1,000 grit is gonna put a really good edge on our stone, and then the 4,000 is gonna be used to polish it up and just get it razor sharp. You know, and these stones I think go all the way down from 200 all the way up to like 10,000, so there's tons of different grades you can get. But for a home cook or even for a professional chef, something like this that just has that 1,000 and then a 4 or a 6,000 on the other side would just be everything that you would need to sharpen your knife at home. As far as size goes when choosing a whetstone, really the bigger the better, and the reason being is you're going to be able to cover all your range of knives on that. If you get a really small stone, it might be good for these little paring knives or these petty knives like this, but it wouldn't be very efficient at a big chef's knife like that. So really, I just like one stone to rule them all kind of thing, you know what I mean? Another thing that may come in handy is a flattener. Now there's kind of a hot debate on the internet about whether or not we should be using these things. So, you know, if you were going to use one of these things, you would get it a little bit wet. I'm not going to do it right now because my stone is nice and flat. And you would just... And what that does is just completely flattens the top, because when you're using a knife on this, you're generally using that middle section quite a bit, and what could end up happening eventually is you get this little like groove into your stone, which isn't good, and it basically ruins your stone. That's where these things come in handy. This is more of a cheaper one. I actually wouldn't even recommend this, but But if you are looking for a flattener, I'll put a better one down there in the links. The thing is, if you're using your stone correctly, that you shouldn't really need to use that flattener too much. And the trouble with those is they grind off a lot of your stone, so they're wasting a lot of good potential sharpenings that you could have had if you hadn't grinded off all that precious stone. There's a lot of workarounds with using these. You could get a wet and dry sandpaper, 220 grit, get it a little bit wet, put it down on a board, stick it down, and then just grind your stone, and that would flatten out your stone. Some people will even spray their sidewalk with water outside and flatten the stone out that way, which is rough, but it actually works. If you are using one of these, you just want to soak it for 5 or 10 minutes before you use it to flatten your stone. One more quick thing before we get into the sharpening tutorial is I'm going to put these angle guides down there with the links. And so what an angle guide will do is it'll just rubber band around the top section of this, and it'll show you the angle. So as you're going back and forth with your knife, you'll be constantly reminded of that angle. This can be useful if you're just starting out. I wouldn't recommend doing that forever. If you're a super beginner and you want a little help, those angle guides can help you. By the way, I'm going to be putting a link to some of those angle guides and a stone that I found on Amazon that has amazing reviews. It's a 1,000, 6,000 combination. So if you are interested in getting a stone, you just have to go to my description box and click one of those links. It'll take you over to Amazon. And by the way, those are affiliate links. So it means that if you buy something through one of those links, this channel will receive a small commission. I don't know what it is. I think it's like between 3 and 8% or something like that. So far, I've made a whopping $5.24 in my YouTube career, but hey, that's a start, right? So, and you know, to my current subscribers and future subscribers, that is a great way to support the channel. Rather than just buying something on Amazon, you could buy through one of my links and in turn support this channel and what I do here. So usually when you buy a stone, it'll come with this little rubber mat that attaches on one side, which will help it stick down while you're sharpening your knife. There's also various holders and things you can buy if you're really serious about like sharpening a lot of knives all the time. You could also just take a 2x4, cut 2 little pieces, screw them down, measure it out so you could rest it in there. There's a lot of ways to do it, but I'm going to show you the easiest way, which is just using a paper towel. And so we're just going to stick it down much in the same way we used to stick down like a cutting board. So just place your towel down on a work surface. Starting with our coarser side, we're going to set down our stone. So first things first is we're going to want to get our angle right. So what you can do is just hold it first at 90 degrees, take it down to 45, right? So half of that, and then you want to go half of 45, right? So that would be 22.5, and then I like to go a little bit less than that, and I will tell you why. So again, I'm going to show you guys a lot of different angles in this video just to give you the best sense of how I'm sharpening the knife. So I'm holding it 90, right? 90 right here, going halfway down to 45, 22.5, and then a little bit more, right? So there's my angle right there. So if you're doing like a 45-degree angle like this, you're gonna have a more durable edge, meaning it won't chip or break as easy, which doesn't happen a lot, but you're just gonna have a stronger steel. And if you're doing an angle that I like to do like this, you're gonna get a sharper knife, but it's not gonna be as durable. So that is the difference. So, you know, you just have to find an angle that you like and works for you. You could start with a 22.5 like that. That would be great. You know, I wouldn't go anything above that. You know, and we wouldn't want to go lower than 15 either. So somewhere right around there is the sweet spot for me. So we've got our angle figured out. The next thing is, are we doing it like this? Are we doing it like this? Are we doing it like this? Now, I've seen a lot of people teaching doing it like this. That is not cool. I would not sharpen this in like sections like that. You want to get one long stroke against the stone, right? Now I do it with the knife facing towards me, right? This is just the way I like to do it. You want to hold even pressure on the knife, spread out your fingers a little bit. And these knives also flex, right? So you don't want to be pushing too hard because then also you'll be sharpening it unevenly. So you just want a slight pressure as you do this. You could do it like this too. If you're more comfortable with that, that's fine. Try it that way, but I do it like this. So we'll start sharpening here in a second. As far as soaking goes, guys, you want to soak this for at least an hour, I would say. Some people say 10 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, but look, an hour is fine. So get a little bit of water on there. Figure out your angle, right? I know my angle, so I'm just going for it. And we're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to go 20 times on each side. Trying to cover as much of the stone as you can. Flip. Same deal. Right, I'm right-handed, so this side is a little bit more difficult for me, but with a little bit of practice, this really becomes like second nature. I love doing it. It's sort of like a meditation. And you can also listen, and the knife will tell you where it wants to be sharpened as the sound gets a little more intense. I don't know if you can hear that, but the bottom wants to get sharpened, right? So we can work that a little bit. Just apply a little bit of water as you need. Go back to the other side. The most important thing here is that you're holding your angle, right? It's definitely the most important thing. Whether you do it like this or like this, you know, that part doesn't matter as much as that you're not like going like this and then like this. You want to just maintain that roughly 20-degree angle if you're doing it my way. Back to the other side. And as you do this for a little while, you'll start to see the stone grinding down, and you'll see it on your knife. That's good. That means it's working. Let's try that on a different angle for you guys at home. Slight pressure, nothing crazy at all. And back and forth. And just keep that angle in mind the whole time. That should be at the forefront of your mind. Don't worry about too much else at this point. Just worry about keeping that angle consistent. By the way, there's going to be some super sweet Slo-Mo Fruit Ninja fruit cutting action at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around to see that. You know, if you want to work the tip, then get your 2 fingers up here and just put a slight pressure on the tip, holding that angle. To get the very tip, you can even do little circles like this. That'll sharpen that point up a little bit and the very top of the knife. Other side. Now we're going to flip our stone over to that 4,000 side. Just a little bit of water. And we'll start polishing. So as you can see there, it got a little bit black. So that's the stone, that's the 1,000 grit from the other side that was doing its work. And this feels very easy, very light. You can tell that it's not taking as much off. Again, it's all just about holding that same angle. Other side. So Ollie says hello. You might notice his ears are red. What happened is I was pasteling in the other room like I do every Friday. And I slipped and I hit both ears, and then I slipped again and I hit his tail. So that's what happened. You know, and perhaps you're doing like a paring knife or something like this. That's why you get the big stone, right? Can make this really easy because you're just really getting that whole length of the blade on one go. So as I'm using this little paring knife, I'm grinding down this side more, right? But as I switch and do that other side, I'll be getting an even grind on that stone. Or like a bigger petty knife like this. I can hear this knife, it's like, oh my God, I need that edge. Needed that sweet, sweet edge. So that sound is important too, right? So generally on my knives, I'm doing 20 on each side and then 20 again on each side. And then over to the 4000 and the same thing, 20, 20, 20, 20. That seems to do just enough. You don't really need to sharpen it more than that. Trust me, these are going to be razor sharp. So when you're done with your stone, just rinse it off, give it a little dry. Just leave it somewhere to dry and then store it away. Now we can get into a little bit of fine tuning. These rods are just meant to hone your blade, right? So they don't actually sharpen your knife. What they do is they maintain the edge that you receive from the stone. So it's not totally necessary what I'm doing, but you can, it does straighten it out a little bit, right? This is like molecular, like very much fine tuning, so just hold that same angle. Some people will show like this, you know. I've never cut myself doing this, so I do it this way. And then if you want to get real crazy with it, you know, we've all got belts most of the time, right? So first off, take your belt. You're going to want to have some fun with that first. Don't do this to your knife. You shall not pass! Okay, now that you've got that out of your system, I'm going to show you the whole reason I pulled my belt off to begin with. So, you know, this is really, the belt is just for fine tuning the blade. You know, and this is crazy stuff, guys. Do you have to do this? No. Does this make a difference in terms of the overall sharpness and like the insane samurai level of your knife? Yes, it does. It's doing things that you cannot see with your eye, but it really is straightening it out. By the way, if you're spending a whole bunch of money on those replacement razors and you do this with them, you'll get so much more life out of it. I've had the same 4 razors for more than a year. I'm not even joking. Okay, now that your knife is sharper than that samurai sword from Kill Bill, we are going to do some slow-mo fruit cutting action. Some fruit's definitely going to get hurt in the making of this video, but it is also going to get eaten. So please enjoy this as much as I do. A lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. But back to a more serious note, let me do some things like dice an onion, slice some lemon real thin, just to show you how sharp this knife really is. Here we have an onion. I mean, it's just, guys, it's a pleasure to use. You know what I mean? Back to that first point I was making, is just ease of use. Amazing. You know, if you have a sharp knife, your vegetables are just never gonna bruise, right? It just glides through. Just glides through. Well, that is it for today, my friend. I hope you got some value from this content right here. I hope you understand the importance of a sharp knife when you're cooking. And if you like the content, please leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.